Unicorn Chefs, Unicorn Herd. Welcome to another episode of Unicorn Chef. I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Suchi, tonight. So it's always fun to cook with friends, and especially friends that aren't going to burn the food. Mike, talking about you.
But I guess
that's kind of a running joke of the show is Mike. I feel like that kind of is self-explanatory. That's kind of a running joke. Is Mike. I hate when I do that. There we go. That's kind of on your end. You have the. I hate when I do that. You have the YouTube tab open. You have the YouTube tab open somewhere.
Got it.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. There you go. So I make that mistake sometimes. That's how I know that one. Okay, we're back on track here. So. First up, what's our charity for tonight?
Our charity is the Sheldrake Trust, Sheldrake Wildlife Trust. They are super cool. They hire a lot of native folks in the parks that they work in to actually do ranger duties, and they host guests on wildlife safaris, and you can adopt rhinoceros or elephants and stuff like that through them. And it's like $50 to donate and just help the earth, I guess, help the wildlife and help the earth. And it's like Earth Month or Climate Week or whatever. So I love them. I've loved them for years. Yeah.
As always, we love to see what everybody at home cooks along with us, since we published the recipe a week in advance, which this week we actually did. I'm always excited when we live up to what we say. So hashtag Unicorn Chef, share what you're making. And the first segue to our Unicorn Chef taking over the show. Suchi, what are you drinking?
I decided to pour myself a Chardonnay that I got from Flight Wine Bar, which is my favorite wine bar in the DC Metro Virginia area. It's a very simple Chardonnay. It's quite delicious. And it has a reasonable price point. I think it's like under 40 or under 35. And it's great. What about you, Bryson?
So I get to be a corporate slut tonight. I have a free bottle of wine, Stag's Leap 2017 Cabernet Sauvignon, that I got from sitting through a Keysight and Nozomi wine tasting demo pitch. Wow,
that sounds fun. Is it delicious?
It's okay.
All right.
I don't know. It tastes free.
Okay. I support this. Someone in the comments is like $2 Chuck, and I'm totally with you, man. Totally with you.
Oh, I mean, Mike is the king of bags of wine.
Hey, I have a friend who swears by Black Box, and being a lawyer, a lot of lawyers drink heavily, and if you can get it in liters, people are ready to go. So
it's an adequate table wine.
There you go. All right. Well, are you ready to get
started?
All right,
what are you doing? Yes.
We are. Okay, so we are making one of my all-time favorite dishes. The recipe actually works if you do it with chicken instead of potato as well. So if you want to make a meat dish, you can. But this is a street food base. So in far east India, there's a city called Cuttack, and you go to a street vendor, and nothing's hygienic, and you get this delicious food. So while I'm telling you about that, if you haven't boiled your potatoes already, please go ahead and quarter your potatoes and get them into some hot water, and it should take you about 12 to 15 minutes max to boil them. If you've already boiled your potatoes, perfect. And you want to go ahead and move on to dicing or slicing or mincing, whatever you want to do with your onions. And I leave them in a bowl of water because I don't like to cry every time I'm working with onions. So that helps sort of offset that. You can actually also cut them underwater. So while you guys are doing that, let me tell you a little bit more about where I'm from and why I love this dish. So I'm a first-generation immigrant. I come from, I come from the cornfields of Iowa. But my parents are from East India, and we come from a state called Odia. And it's like the land of the temples, basically. There's lots of old temples. Emperor Ashoka was there. There was a giant bloodbath and a war. It's very tropical. And one thing that it's really famous for is its spicy street food. And arudam, which just means potato curry, is national, but the take in Cuttack is extremely spicy, very flavorful, and often served with like this deep fried wheat donut that's topped with yogurt, cilantro, and fresh onion as well. I don't do the rest of it because it's too much work and I'm just that lazy, and you'll see a lot of it during the cooking today. But what you definitely get is like the really amazing base, and you can cook it with, have your staple to be rice or tortillas or rotis if you're into making rotis. And I wouldn't start any of that until you're done cooking the arudam. So anyway, I'm assuming people's potatoes are still boiling and you should be somewhere near done dicing onions. And if you're done dicing or slicing or mincing onions, go ahead and move on to your garlic and ginger. I know the recipe says garlic and ginger paste. If you're like me and you're not serving any guests and you're just cooking for people you know, don't bother with making a paste out of it. Just mince it very finely. And then tomato. I have really bad heartburn, so I don't use a lot of tomato. I also forgot to get real tomatoes, so these are salad tomatoes, and they work just fine. Cool.
So one of the neat things I feel like about this is, I mean, you mentioned chicken, but there's a lot of different kind of derivatives and different things you can add to kind of work around it. You get that spicy base, and then it's kind of like, what do I got?
Yeah. I really like making egg curries as well. So if you boil eggs the same way you would boil potatoes, but not soft boil, hard boil them, you can actually blister them in the curry spices and then add water and make an amazing egg curry too. So yeah.
Ooh, can I add eggs to this?
You could. Yeah.
I got to hard boil them first though?
Yeah, you have to hard boil them and then just saute at the same time.
I am doing an audible and adding eggs. As soon as I find them.
I don't know, in terms of, I wouldn't add any greens to this. So I wouldn't add any green beans or broccoli or anything like that. So any protein or starch is typically fine.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to be adding that in. Why don't we, so we've got, at this point, we should have minced garlic and ginger.
Yes. And what we're going to get started with is just the basic beginning of any Indian dish that you're cooking is going to be to saute that main ingredient with a little bit of turmeric. And turmeric is typically used to get rid of like a smell of like the smell of the meat and to add a little bit of an astringent flavor. And it does the same thing for potatoes. And so I'm going to turn on the pan or turn on the heat and put it on like medium high and add oil. Typically what I recommend for East Indian cooking is using mustard oil. All the mustard oil you can get at the store is probably going to say for massage only. You know, hint that for massage only is just a way to get it through customs. So it's actually edible and it's fine. Although if you're pregnant, don't quote me on that and don't take that advice.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So first of all, this is the first time I've heard of mustard oil. And second of all, that mustard oil is something you use for massage and then it's still edible and that's how you get through customs.
Yeah, it's delicious. It's really the most amazing ingredient you can add to make a dish pop. It adds a little bit of umami flavor and then a little bit of spice as well. And it's very heavily used in Bengal and Odisha. So, and it does say massage only.
Where would somebody get mustard oil? Because it's not generally available in the average American grocery store.
So you get it in the Indian store and it's actually next to the vegetable oil and the olive oil. And it's in the whole edible oil section with clarified butter and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay. I'm not aware of the Indian store in Arlington. I haven't found that one yet.
Yeah, I don't know. All of the big ones that I've heard of are in Baltimore, and so I haven't been to an Indian store yet area, my mom sends me Indian food. So thanks, Mom. I don't know if you're watching. All right, taking 2 tablespoons of oil and heating it in the pan.
Yeah, so where I live, we have lots of Asian grocery stores. The Asian stores even specialize. We have a couple of Thai grocery stores, and then we actually have an Ethiopian grocery store. It's actually in walking distance to my house.
Nice. I'm gonna add, so my pan heats very quickly, so I'm adding the potato and then half of the turmeric. There is a Korean grocery store in like Burke called H Mart. Everyone knows about H Mart.
Yep.
Turkish and some Indian spices.
Yeah, so there's an entire, I don't know what you call it, like shopping mall area over in toward Falls Church off of Arlington. That's like Little Vietnam.
Oh, cool.
They have a giant H Mart equivalent. There's an H Mart that's about 20 minutes west of here off of 50 as well.
Is the center you're talking about the one called Eden Center?
Yeah, Eden Center. That's the name.
Everyone's told me about it, but I haven't been yet. I hear they have vegan kimchi, which I'm interested in.
They have what?
Vegan kimchi.
I'm sure they do. They have, I mean, the store is a lot of fun. I mean, it's the kind of Asian grocery store where you go in and the butcher, the entire bottom is live fish, like swimming around. And there's just such a variety. There's a couple of places that have great banh mi there.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to try it. I've just driven by it. So after putting the potatoes in, you should hear the oil sizzling and popping. And you want to cover the potatoes with all of the turmeric. So make sure you stir it all really well to coat all the potato pieces.
Or shake your pot.
Or that.
So do you actually have mustard oil?
I don't. Unfortunately, I'm out, which made me really sad.
Okay, because I was about to say, I mean, have you moved into Virginia yet, or you're still in Florida?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. This is my new house. Yes. Yeah.
Ah, all right.
Yeah. It's actually like, if you ignore the laundry rack, I have this like cute little stand for all my mugs and some of my spices, you know.
And to dry your laundry. I mean, that's
it's like one of those like 1920s places. So like nothing's actually insulated. There's no central air. Like it's a very, I'm going to call it bohemian. So.
Wait, you moved to Old Town, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Old Town is definitely bohemian.
Yes. Well, it also reminds me of India because I was like, there are critters everywhere. So I can just pretend I'm at my grandma's house in Cuttack where this recipe is from. Just to tie it all back together. All right, so the potatoes, we're going to put them in some other bowl or something and remove them from the heat. When they look like they're yellow and sort of like somewhat cooked and starting to dry out a little bit, you don't want to over fry them. They'll start to get like a white hard covering while you're over frying them, and you don't want to have that happen. So then you want to reduce the heat, or I want to reduce the heat. I don't know about you guys, because what you want to do next is roast the whole spices, but you want to do it in a way that just doesn't burn them. If you're using powdered spices for this stuff, add like a tablespoon or 2 of water, keep the heat low, and make a paste of the spices in the water, and then just let it roast in the pan.
This is the same pan that we had the potatoes in?
Same pan that you had the potatoes in, but you're going to add more oil. So now you're going to add the rest of the other 2 tablespoons of oil. And then the whole spices, which is your cinnamon, bay leaf, clove, and cardamom.
So does it help to kind of like move the potatoes to one side?
I'm gonna take the potatoes out of the pan entirely into another bowl.
Oh, I missed that.
Sorry. That was this bowl.
I was about to say, it didn't make the way you were talking about that. I didn't follow that.
I'm having trouble translating from my language right now. So normally I think we say we lift it from the pan. So like set aside the potatoes.
Okay, setting them aside, potatoes.
Yeah.
Chill.
And then adding 2 tablespoons of oil into your pan. And at a low medium heat, adding your whole spices.
All right. So cinnamon.
Yep. Bay leaves. Clove, and if you have cardamom as well. So a lot of this recipe is definitely wafting whatever's in the pan towards yourself so you can see if it's actually become fragrant. So waft, don't stick your face in the pan like I just did. That's a bad idea. And my spices are not quite as fragrant as I like them. One of the things you want to avoid is burning the spices, especially cinnamon, because it tastes objectively terrible.
Well, they get acrid, right?
Sorry?
They're gonna have a very acrid flavor if you burn them.
Yeah, exactly. So this step doesn't take too long. It's starting to smell pretty good. And now I'm going to go ahead and move to the next step, which is adding the onions. If you put your onions in water like me, make sure to grate them a little bit. And then just add them to the
All right, I just want to make sure I've got this. So I've got coriander, bay leaves, cinnamon. That's it that I'm just cooking down.
Your coriander and cumin's normally later, but it's fine if you added it now.
Oh.
So coriander and cumin you hold till later.
Okay. So I'm opening up the aromatics of my bay leaves and my cinnamon.
Yes. And your cloves, if you have cloves, and cardamom. When people are cooking with potatoes and have to remove them from the pan, what they'll do is they'll remove from the pan and set them aside, and then do a quick rinse of the pan in between. I don't much care. It tastes the same to me, so it's just up to like what you like to do in your kitchen when you're cooking. So Bryson, we're like I think one step ahead, or I'm like one step ahead. So once you're ready with your aromatic spices, you feel like they've been kind of toasted enough and are fragrant enough, go ahead and add in your onions.
You got it.
Right. And you can also raise the temperature once you put the onions in.
Nope, not for you.
So one time I was in India and I was cooking in a clay pot. And I had watched my mom cook for the longest time. And what she would do at the end of like making a dish or frying something was she'd like slam the handle of the spoon against the pot. So I was cooking and then I promptly slammed the handle of a heavy spoon against the clay pot. It just like shattered everywhere. So yeah, exactly. That was a learning experience.
All right, so we're going to saute our onions. I'm guessing we're going to go for getting them to translucent.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more oil just to be safe. I feel really funny cooking this with like authentic Italian olive oil. And now, I mean, I didn't know mustard oil existed, so I'm going to have to track that down.
It is so, so good. There's a hand food that we, there's a road snack, kind of like popcorn, that you get when you're in the trains made out of popped rice. It's popped rice, roasted spicy peanuts, fresh sliced onions, a spritz of lime, and then wheat graham spicy crackers. And you mix it all together and you top it with cilantro and then a little swirl of mustard oil. And it is to die for, like rainy season snack food, train snack food, you know.
Are you using fresh cardamom pods?
Yes, I did. I keep a lot of fresh whole spices around because my chai requires them. So green cardamom is a staple, and fresh ginger is a staple.
Yeah, because I've seen you talk about that on Twitter before. So why don't you tell everyone about that drink?
Yeah, so I make what we call adrak bali chai, which means chai with ginger, and it requires cardamom pods, ginger. You can use honey or sugar, cloves, and sometimes black pepper. And you just sort of put all of those whole spices into a mortar and pestle and smash them, and then add them to a pot of simmering water and just let it simmer for a while, and add in some milk. And then once the milk is heated up, you can add the tea leaves. And I typically use Darjeeling or Assam. And then let it sit for 3 minutes, and it's done. You strain it, and you have fresh chai. So that's like my every morning drink. It takes maybe 10-15 minutes to make, max, and it makes your entire house smell amazing. So also, everything smells amazing right now. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely opening up, and I like the addition of the cinnamon because that's really unique, aromatic.
Yeah. So if you can get a hold of good Sri Lankan cinnamon, like this dish is really just amazing. All right. So while your onions are still cooking, go ahead and add your ginger and garlic and red chili if you're doing red chili, and also the rest of your turmeric.
I'm making mine without chili to appease the teen.
Yep.
But I can always add some pepper flakes afterward to spice it up.
I definitely recommend it. So the red chili does make the dish. But, you know, like I said, I have heartburn, so I've started omitting chili quite a bit from many of my dishes. Other ingredients that are really helpful to have originals of, Kashmiri red chili is amazing. So it's one of the spiciest red chili blends I've had. Anything that says Kashmiri lal mirch, that's the name of the it's just so good, and you only need a pinch, and it adds amazing amount of flavor.
Do they grow that here, or is that imported?
I think it's imported. I have only found it once in my entire life. So, and my Sri Lankan cinnamon, Sri Lankan friends. So if anyone's traveling to South Asia, please send me ingredients. I'm on Twitter.
Heartburn comes for us all eventually. Yes, Ben. I was going to make a comment on age. But the antioxidants in this meal will also help your heart, help all those free radicals, and your joints.
What are you talking about?
I'm just making shit up.
Okay, yeah. My heart is helped by this delicious Chardonnay. That's where we are.
Yeah, wine's good for your heart.
Yes,
That's
it is.
science, right? Science says that, doesn't it?
No, but we can say it does.
No, they go back and forth like every other, whatever. It's like, oh, wine's good for you, wine's no bad for you. Chocolate's good for you, chocolate's bad for you.
Yeah. Chocolate, everything in moderation. That's the rule. I feel like I completely omitted one ingredient. Like I have my sugar here, but I don't remember why. Normally it's added early in the process.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. You said add the sugar for color.
So when you roast the sugar, what it does is it darkens, right? So most Indian curries will have like a dark orange color, and it's normally from roasting the sugar in the blend. Yeah.
So the sugar caramelizes and gives it that color?
Yeah, without giving it the sweetness.
Interesting. Because I when I first saw that, I actually thought it came from the tomato, because you're actually doing kind of like, it's funny how different cultures kind of come to the same thing. And it's very much like a sofrite where the tomato turns black. And then when you start adding other things in, that's going to give you that sort of dark orangish reddish color, which is like what you see in gumbo. Right.
Which is also where that coloring comes from. But what you'll see is like, you could cook like a coconut egg curry, and you'll toast the sugar in that as well. And then it'll add just like a layer of caramelized sugar orange. So, well, I completely forgot what step that was. So I just have sugar that I'm going to forget about because I don't normally use it. So don't stress it. If you have and followed the recipe, congratulations. I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like. Great. So I don't want my ingredients to get too burnt. So if it starts getting dark spots, just start moving a little bit faster. And I'm going to add my tomatoes now.
Okay. So now we're going to go for the sofrite.
Yes. I'm definitely still getting used to the stove.
What kind of stove is it?
It's a gas range, and it heats quite rapidly and hot.
Old school.
Yeah. I also don't have a microwave, so when I said bohemian.
So how do you do your popcorn?
Yeah, there is no popcorn in my life. And my cereal, like I heat milk to eat cereal because I'm so used to like eating raw milk from back in India. So I normally use a microwave to heat my milk for my cereal, which I know is a cause, great controversy. But now I have to do it in a pot, and man, that's just like omitted breakfast from my life. Like I have the time to make chai, but I don't have the time or mood to heat milk for my breakfast.
One of those air popcorn machines is like $20.
Wow.
You could fit it on your drying rack.
You're so full of shit. What am I going to do with an air popcorn machine? I don't even eat
popcorn. You make popcorn. That's the whole point. Is you make popcorn. You throw in kernels, you get popcorn.
I would still need milk. By the way, popcorn and milk is delicious. Just so you know.
Wait, what?
Yeah, popcorn and hot milk with a little bit of turmeric is amazing. I am full of these recipes.
Hold on. Fresh popcorn.
Yes.
In warm milk.
Yes.
With turmeric. Eating it kind of. I feel like it's like an ethnic corn pops.
Yes, it is. And it's so good. Your tomatoes. So here's the deal with what I said about the tomatoes. Every Indian recipe will say that the oil separates. The only time I've ever seen oil separate while you're blistering the tomatoes like this and cooking them down is when my dad's cooking and he's using like cups of oil. So if you can get the oil to separate, that is awesome. I've actually never made it happen. So I just judge whether it's ready by how squishy the tomatoes are. And they're currently not squishy enough. And I think you guys recently had Paul on your cooking show. And one of the things he differentiated was people who are very precise with their cooking and people who are just like, it's close enough. I definitely fall into the latter category. So I probably cook like a lot of your aunts or mothers or grandmothers' recipe books, which is a pinch of this and a dash of that.
Oh, that's everybody on this show. Like you're required to put a recipe, so you have to put something down. But other than that, it's like, close enough.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you watch me, I don't measure anything. I'm just like, I do it all by what it looks like and then smell and taste.
Well, and so for folks who are watching, I started to run out of oil here, so I added like a dash of oil just a second ago. So everything's starting to look kind of like mushy. And the next step I didn't actually elaborate on in the recipe and realized that while I was cooking. So what you want to do, you have your cumin and coriander, right? You mix it all together in a bowl. Add a little bit of water to that to make a paste because we want to roast the spices. And so just going to add a little bit of water.
Yeah, I'm still cooking the moisture out of my tomatoes.
Okay, well, in that case, I'll just make a paste and let it sit.
All right, popcorn and milk. What other bun mutts do you have to drop on us?
I really like, there's a super, and I'm going to say fragrant, but it's not fragrant. It's kind of like sulfuric smelling salt that tastes really good with a little bit of cumin and black pepper and ginger, candied ginger in Coca-Cola. It's very refreshing. So you just put all the masala in and you swirl it around and it's really tasty. So that's a good one. It cuts the sugariness of the Coca-Cola. And you can buy them at street stands. So they'll sell you those little like tiny bottles of Coca-Cola and then they'll pour it all into a glass and mix all the spices together and give you a straw and you're good to go. So that's another one. Dry roasted peanuts with red chili pepper.
Yeah, so that's made its way over here.
Huh?
That's made its way over here.
Yeah, it's good. You know, I kind of wonder, so I know that red chili was, like chilies were not native to India. I really wonder what the cuisine was like before that, because most of the dishes that I've cooked have involved red chili. I just love to know what it was like before.
With the way you're making the potato, could you use that as a filling to start samosas?
100%. And if you're actually doing that to do samosa filling, also add in green peas. And there's, at the store, they have these box masalas, Indian stores or on Amazon, called chaat masala. It looks like chat, but with an extra A. And you can use that to sprinkle into your potatoes as well. And then just mush it all in the roll, like in the bowl, or use a rolling pin. And then stuff them into the samosas and deep fry them. So.
All right, I am ready for coriander and cumin.
Awesome. So make a paste with those spices, which I added like maybe a tablespoon and a half of water. Actually, I might add a little bit more, maybe a little bit more than a paste, y'all. Like a very watery paste. How's that?
Oh, it occurred to me, we haven't added any salt in. Is that intentional?
I added at the end, even though it's twice in the recipe at other places.
Because I can smell the flavors building, but I can also tell that without the salt, it like hasn't yet like come together.
Yep, you can add it when we add the potatoes back in and add the water, or you can actually do it when you're boiling the potatoes. So after you've made your paste, we're going to add it into the pan and then just let that cook off. Make sure to stir. So the big problem with cooking Indian food is burning spices. Here you're going to stir it like you would basically a roux, so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. It's not as much of a pain in the ass as a roux is, so you don't have to like monitor it as closely, but you should really smell the spices as they heat up. What you're smelling when you initially put them in the pan is the smell of the cumin and the coriander when it's really like a raw smell. And so you want to wait until you have that smell. So in India, the curry stores open at like 9 a.m. Most of the day starts pretty late in India, and you have a break for lunch at the highest heat hours of the day. And so in the morning, around 7, 8 a.m., the vendors can gut out this particular dish. And by 8:30, you can just take your scooter or motorbike or whatever to the vendor and ask for aloo kachori, and they'll give you this base, and they'll give you these really big puris, basically like big fluffy bread with air inside, and they'll give you the curry in like a plastic polyurethane bag or polythene. I think that's what it is, in a big bag, and then they bring it, and you bring it home and you pour it into dishes, and it's a delicious, spicy way to start the day. Basically, what I'm saying is visit my family home in East India and let me know that you're coming, and I will take you to eat everything.
I look forward to traveling again.
Yeah. I miss all of it. We also have, I'm really excited about this place because it has a backyard. So I have a fire pit, and now I can make like banana leaf wrapped, banana leaf wrapped like bread and stuff like that you just stick under the embers and just let it cook all night, and it's so good. It's amazing. You can stuff it with like brown sugar and cardamom, so it's like a dessert.
The local Thai grocery store to me has banana leaves.
Okay, well, I'm definitely making that. I'm adding a little bit more water because I want my spices not to burn, but I want them to roast a little bit more. But it's almost ready. So if you feel like your spices are roasty enough, it should smell like toasted cumin, then you're going to go ahead and add the potatoes back in. And when you add the potatoes back in, your purpose of adding the potato back in is to coat them with all the spices and let them fry some more. So make sure to add them in and then turn them all and coat them.
So the closest, I've never been to India, but the closest I have been is Nepal.
Oh yeah. They definitely have a different cuisine, and it's delicious. What did you eat while you were there?
Oh, I had momo everywhere I could get it.
Yes.
I mean, including in the, hovels in alleyways, where, a family in a room with like a little pot over like propane. Mm-hmm. I was eating momo at places like that, and it was fantastic.
Yes. Momos are so good. There's momos, and then Indo-Chinese food in North India is to die for. It's so good. So in Adams Morgan, there's a restaurant that does a really good job with momos with liquid. Chol momos is what they're called. And I think it's north of, like, just above the karaoke place that used to be the spot to go after Shmukan. So I like to cook my potatoes at this stage until they turn kind of like the spices and everything start to turn like a little bit of an amber color and maybe a little bit darker than that. According to my dad, that means I'm burning the potatoes. So up to you on where you want to go with your potatoes. That's probably right. So at any point in time now, you can add water and salt. I like to add enough water to cover the potatoes. You can actually serve this as thickly or as you'd like. So Up to
What
you.
kind of potatoes did you use?
I use those big russet potatoes. I don't really like the potatoes that are more buttery because they have too smooth of a taste, like if they're not earthy enough. But that might just be a personal preference.
So I actually have two different kinds of potatoes here. One, the buttery potatoes, and then russet. So I got them both mixed in there.
Well, there you go.
We will see how it comes out.
Good. I just added the water to mine. And I made mine pretty thin because I'm going to boil it quite a bit. And let that water boil off. Okay, and then here's the salt issue. I criminally undersalt. So it's pour like a heaping amount of salt in this because I know I criminally undersalt. So I have like a dash, maybe.
You can never add too little salt because you can always add more salt afterward. But if you add too much salt, you can't take it out.
Yep, that's true. So here there's two options now. You can boil it forever, and then when you're basically done. So you can add some madras curry powder, which comes in a package, or you can just leave it or masala, which also comes in a package, but it's really just like a couple of dried spices that have been ground. And let it go. That's it. Made Cuttack-Style potato curry.
So I gotta chill my eggs here real quick to throw them in.
Yeah. I would saute your eggs with turmeric the same way you did with the potato.
I guess I can do that afterward. And then I've got rice to put these over. The cilantro we're going to be dressing this with. And then the madras curry, we're just at the very end.
Yeah, you can add the madras curry now while you're bringing it to a boil. And if you're adding the madras curry, you can add the garam masala on top as well, or skip the garam masala entirely.
Okay. So why is the madras curry added at the end?
It's so that you can figure out if you like the flavor of the rest of it without the madras curry powder.
Interesting.
So madras curry powder has a profile that's a little bit more typically fenugreek and a little bit more honestly, one of the homework takeaways I have is to figure out what's in madras curry powder and whether I actually want to make my own blend. So
yeah, I mean it's just a mix of spices.
Yeah. And just like in a lot of other countries, every home has its own blend of stuff that goes into spices. So like my grandma makes her own spice mix, and it's the most amazing curry powder I've ever had, but I never got the recipe. So she used to visit every year when I was in high school, and what she would do is she'd roast these whole spices, and then, she'd wash these spices and then dry them in the sun, and then roast them and then grind them with water and then dry them in the sun again. And it was like, she'd leave us with these giant 2 bottles of curry spices, and they were amazing.
All right. So does this mean we're about ready to plate?
Yeah. Are you comfortable with the thinness or thickness of your curry?
I am.
That's it. You're ready to plate. You can actually put them right over your rice, or you can separately have a plate and a small bowl, and then eat them together.
All right, so get my rice base. While we're doing that, any last stories or cooking you want to share?
I don't think so. But if you're interested in more Indian cooking like this, I tend to post recipes at least once a month. And I'm happy to tag, maybe Bryson, tag your unicorn chef tag.
If you tag unicorn chef, I will amplify it.
All right, we can do that. So if anyone wants the chai recipe or the Kashmiri chai recipe, let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely drop those in tomorrow. So cool. Thanks for having me, Bryson.
No, this has been a lot of fun. I love Indian food. We made a butter chicken the other month, and I think it's really cool to get to highlight and get insights into different cultures and different ways of understanding food, and then everybody gets to kind of work from there.
Yeah, when I'm ready for like super home cooking East Indian style, I will definitely bring you a different recipe that involves only 5 spices. So it is the simplest one in the book, and it's what you can do with all of your leftover vegetables. So are you adding red chili into yours?
I am not.
Okay.
I might do some pepper flakes on top.
Yeah.
For me, although. Actually, I went with cayenne red pepper.
Nice. Also, if you have a paprika recommendation, I'll take it.
Oh, smoked paprika is a game changer, time and time again.
Okay.
I also have a Hungarian sweet pepper. If you've never tried that,
I haven't.
So
what does it taste like?
We will. Paprika, but different.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard to describe a flavor like that, right?
Okay. Hungarian paprika.
Here, looks like this.
Okay. Okay. I have some plain paprika, and it just doesn't do anything. So.
Yeah, no, straight paprika is really just, I don't even almost know what the point is half the time. Something to kind of try this dish in a like more eclectic way is again a trick that Chris Krebs taught me last year, which is smoking those tomatoes and then adding them in, and then you get like additional like the smoky flavor naturally in it. It's kind of cool.
That sounds delicious. I'll have to try that.
Yeah, well, you ready for our snapshot? You got a plate?
Oh, I don't have a plate yet because I'm still cooking it down.
Oh, okay. I thought we were ready to plate.
Hold on. It's going to take me forever to cook it down. I have a pot though.
Oh, all right. We can do a picture of you with the pot. Hold on. There we go. All right. Highlight our charity again, please.
Yes, the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, also known as @Sheldrick Trust, is amazing, and they help animals and wildlife. And it's Climate Month, or Earth Month, or Climate Week. So please go check them out. They're @Sheldrick Trust, and they do accept donations, and they do $1.50. So $50. I can English.
Well, we look forward to seeing all of your potato curries and the different derivatives of this over time. So please hashtag us Unicorn Chef. You now have another reason to follow the hashtag Unicorn Chef, because Suchi is going to be sharing monthly different recipes and different little peeks into that. So maybe that's something you and I can follow up with afterward and find a different way to kind of talk and highlight about that to yet again bring another element to all of this.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks so much for joining us.